Hey, just a heads up, this video does have spoilers of chapters 1 through 4, so if you haven't caught up yet, I'd recommend doing that before watching this video. I've been very excited to make a video like this, but it's honestly so difficult getting my autistic little thoughts onto paper or onto a Google document, but I'll do my best. If this is your first ever Mushroom Girl video, hi, I'm MG. I'm a 17-year-old artist who has like a million OCs. Souls Meant to Burn is my passion project me and my best friend TrilobiteBeetle started roughly a year ago. A webcomic that accumulates all of our OCs into something that vaguely kind of makes sense. I think the best way to explain what this comic is to start with the world it takes place in. It takes place on Earth, regular old Earth, except for a few minor details. Holy shit, Catboys are reality. There's pirates in the 21st century for some reason. Are those demons and angels? Holy shit, gay people are real. The story starts in the 2010s roughly. The time period is a bit wishy-washy, but it does take place in the modern day with modern technology and all that fun stuff. Most of the story takes place in a fictional city in Washington state called Hoxton, but there will be other settings later in the comic. There's a village up in the Canadian mountains that gets expanded upon. We get to see some certain silly creatures live on a fictional planet near the end of the comic. There's also hell and heaven and stuff like that. But Hoxton is where the majority of the story takes place. It's a city that's probably located somewhere around here, since there's docks that lead to the ocean, which is kind of how all the pirate stuff happens, but whatever. This city is infamous for its supernatural and extraterrestrial sightings. The world's view on aliens and supernatural forces is similar to that of real life, where some people think they're real and some people don't. Since aliens don't exactly go to Earth that often, unless their name is EXE, or Fan, or Healer, or Zip, or Grass, or okay, yeah, you get the point. Hoxton has a lot of aliens. This story isn't focusing on aliens, though. It's focusing on Logan and Adam, two children who grow up and live their lives and yada yada. From the first chapter, it's made super clear that Logan comes from a physically abusive household, which is extremely important for how the rest of the story plays out. There's a reason I established it so early on. The relationship between Logan and his abusive caretaker will be expanded upon in Chapter 5, which is the chapter that's currently in production. It alludes to why Logan is in this situation in the first place. After Chapter 2, both of which are meant mostly to develop Logan's character while also sprinkling in some character development for a character named Wendy, and also introducing Tucker, who becomes extremely important later on. But yeah, after Chapter 2, the story shifts completely, now focusing on a seemingly unrelated child named Adam. Oh no, starting the chapter with a dream cliche, someone kill me! The first piece of information you get about Adam is that he's questioning his sexuality and he feels like shit about it. Then his mother wakes him up for church, and I'm sure you can immediately see where Adam's side of the story is going. Boom, Chapter 4, he kisses a boy and gets disowned for being gay, yippee! Where does he get sent to? You'll never know, because Chapter 5 is taking forever to make! But to talk about Chapter 4, Matt is an interesting character right now. He isn't an antagonist right now, I suppose. He's a stupid mentally ill kid who's encouraging bad behavior on another stupid mentally ill kid because he doesn't know any better. I want to clarify that, at least right now, Matt's behavior is not that of malice. Like, he didn't wake up thinking, oh yes, I want to manipulate someone vulnerable into doing harmful things to themselves. We have other characters to do that. Now, I'm sure literally none of you are wondering, where did this all start? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me set the scene for you. A 10 to 11-year-old with nothing but a beat-up Samsung tablet, gacha life, and an obsession with creepypasta. Yeah, I made a gacha life series based on creepypasta slashers where a character named Logan kills a bunch of people and secretly is also a demon who kills his parents or something like that. He had a half-brother named Adam who was kidnapped by Logan and something. The story was horrifically bad, but god am I thankful for it. I grew out of gacha, I began drawing and redesigning the characters, and I completely rewrote the story, though there are some minor similarities. In the old story, there was this weird, the only way I can really describe it as is an eye racism plot. Like, the shape of your pupils described your personality, and of course there was the evil, fucked up one that our hated child become serial killer had, and was discriminated against because of. This sounds like something straight out of a TikTok POV. Then, like halfway through the series, I completely switched gears and made it less about pupil shapes and more about Logan's apparent demonic bloodline, which apparently made him immortal but not the demon who gave him those genetics. I don't even know. Don't ask. If you didn't already assume, the eye racism plotline is completely scrapped in Souls Meant to Burn. Fun fact, my reason for scrapping the eye racism plot is because of my art style at the time I started really getting into drawing. I was getting super into this thing called Roblox Myths, which is basically just the Roblox version of creepypasta, and because of my obsession with it, I drew in a Roblox-like style, which meant I drew eyes that were literally just lines. That meant I didn't exactly have any room for pupil variation. Therefore, I was like, oh well, I switched gears anyway, let's stick with the demon idea instead. Then, I began posting my OC art on YouTube using many different aliases until, when I was 12, I got TikTok. Whoa, a whole new place to post my content. I post more stuff using another alias, the story continues to change and develop over time, and I'm having the time of my life. Oh yeah, let's talk about Simon for a second. He's got some interesting history. I was planning on making a second story that takes place in a completely unrelated universe, and I started making characters for it. One of these characters was a demonic character named Simon. He was this, like, snobby British guy, I guess. The story got scrapped pretty quickly after creation, and I know that because I literally don't remember a single aspect about it other than Simon and this other demon-looking guy who was, like, dripping with black ink all the time. Oh god, it's Constantine! Anyway, after the story was scrapped, I wanted to do something with the Simon design, so I shoved it into the main universe. He got a whole personality rehaul too. He's definitely not a British asshole anymore. He's a morally dubious, cheerful little guy who's also not British. He does really like tea though, that is a big part of his character. Well, on TikTok, on my different alias, I met who's now my best friend, TrilobiteBeetle, the silliest silly, also known as the lovely Hubert Corkscrew, so if you see that name in the comments of my videos, that's them. They had awesome, delicious, silly, tasty OCs that I loved so much, so we merged our stories together and it actually ended up fitting together nicely. Many years later, with us developing this story together, I had the idea to make this story into a webcomic. I asked Beetle, hey, give me some names for a comic about Adam and Logan, and he cooked. Souls Meant to Burn in particular stuck with me, and that's where I got the name from. I'm pretty pissed at myself for not naming the comic Mommy Issues the Comic, though. That one was the biggest banger. So, yeah, that's how Souls Meant to Burn became a thing in the first place.
I met MG Girl and immediately knew that I could use her to get rich by leeching off her accomplishments. I am a genius and very smart, and I can't wait to steal all of MG's money.
Oh yeah, you may be wondering, the original story didn't have aliens. Where did aliens come from? Well, during the time when I was first starting to transition from gacha to drawing, I was sitting in some random person's basement, drawing to keep the boredom away. I'm not joking, by the way. I was with my papa who was dog sitting in one of his friend's houses, and his friend happened to have a very large basement. But anyway, I sketched an alien Cyclops guy in a random guy's basement. Later on, he got a redesign, and I named him EXE. The second E was capital because I like symmetry. I don't fucking know. Anyway, I gave EXE this very stereotypical alien-y personality. Cold, calculated, a huge nerd, etc. But you want to know the worst part? He was a twig! Where is the plump creature we all know and love? This personality he had began to crack over time. I slowly made him more silly and happy and goofy, but something changed when I began posting him on TikTok. Wanna know why EXE became such a freaky weirdo who likes cutting people open? Well, if you mix a popular Sodican song with a bunch of TikTok 15-year-olds, that's what you get, I guess. I drew EXE and his partner, Phaon, engaging in some cannibalistic shenanigans. And of course, a bunch of 15-year-olds came into my TikTok comments saying, you're romanticizing cannibalism. And out of spite, I decided to push harder on the crazy shit with EXE and Phaon's relationship. If you were one of the people who participated in that, it's your fault. Blame yourselves, silly billies. I love their current personalities though. I'm kind of glad I got harassed by evil gay children because now EXE and Phaon are my pride and joy, my bouncing baby boys. A lot of people ask how I come up with chapter ideas, make pages, design characters, etc. for the comic. So that's what this part of the video is about. Alright, first, character development. How do I develop characters? This is probably going to be a boring answer, but I just kind of think about them a lot and let stuff change over time if I have different ideas for them. Drawing, animating, and role-playing are also super easy ways to develop characters. Writing the script for Souls Meant to Burn has also helped, though I'll get into the script writing in a second. A lot of my most important characters like Logan, Adam, EXE, Chris, Jennifer, etc. started out as one-note characters with nothing really to offer and slowly over time developed into actual people with a personality.
Well, it's a couple of things. But I tend to take a lot of inspiration from stuff LV experienced media L enjoyed as a kid, and stuff recently as well oft. But a lot of my primary core inspirations branch off from the childhood whimsy old cartoons, stories, games. I know going too hard for nostalgia can ruin storytelling, so I try my best to make my silliest unique.
Anyway, script writing. How does one write scripts for thine webcomic? Well, the thing is, I've had the big events of this story in my brain for years, so writing that is the easy part. The hard part is the minor details. How far should these major events be spaced apart? How much filler should be in between these events? What exact words should be said during these events? How many EXEX Phaon chapters can I physically fit in one comic before the audience gets sick of it? So many questions I need to answer. At the moment, I currently have 37 chapters scripted, most of which I scripted on my phone during particularly boring school days. I'm happy that I did this, because that means I won't have to script for a while and I can just do what I do best, the drawing part. Of course, I've been slowly chipping away at scripting chapter 38, but I'm certainly not in a rush. Though, to keep the timeline straight and to make sure everything's in order, I have a separate document where I write bullet points on each future chapter and what important information that chapter will have. So when I started writing chapter 38, I didn't have to try and remember what was going to happen in that chapter. I can just check the bullet point document and go from there. I currently have chapters 38 through 73 bullet pointed, and that's not even close to the end of the comic. But yeah, that's how I script my webcomic. If you actually want to see what my scripts look like, here's part of the script for chapter 1. Next part of the comic is... Oh, you thought I was gonna say drawing the pages? No. Then I have to make ref sheets. Now, here's the thing. Logan as a character I can draw by memory easily, but I'm talking about his 19-year-old version. In chapter 1, he's roughly 5 years old, and obviously 5-year-old Logan looks a lot different than 19-year-old Logan. And since each chapter in the beginning of the comic has a dramatic time skip from the next, Logan looks very different between chapters 1, 2, and 5. And even if there isn't a substantial time skip between chapters, a character's clothing may change or a character's hair might get chopped off. It's important to draw ref sheets for each character in each chapter if there's any change between it and previous chapters. Oh yeah, there's also backgrounds. Every comic needs consistent backgrounds, and consistent backgrounds are hard. Trust me, I've made the mistake of not taking the time to properly draw background references, and while you can definitely get away with it in certain circumstances without it looking too noticeable, it's good practice to draw out every background that appears in more than 1 or 2 panels. I actually really dislike how not polished most of my character sheets and background sheets are, and I'm planning to make more polished ones for Chapter 6. I feel like the more polished a ref sheet is, the easier it is to stay on model. Now, it's time for the most important part, actually drawing the pages. It's a pretty straightforward process. I just draw storyboards, then I add panel boxes, then I add speech bubbles, then I sketch the sketches, then I do line art, then I color the line art, and then I add any other details like screen tone and stuff, and then I add a unifying layer over the line art and color layers. The steps can vary slightly, but that's basically how I do it for every page. When I finish a chapter, which takes me roughly a couple months or so, I usually take a bit of a break before working on the next chapter. I usually complete roughly 1 page every few days, but sometimes I'll not work on pages for weeks on end to avoid burnout. I try doing a page every day, but it can definitely be difficult if I've had a rough day, or I have another project I want to work on for the day instead. So I kind of just do a page when I feel like it, or when I realize I haven't drawn a page in a while. Well, I asked you guys for questions, and I answered a few indirectly, but I'm about to answer some more of them.
Who's your favorite Souls Meant to Burn character?
For me, it's super hard to choose, but if I had to choose, it'd probably be EXE and Phaon. And no, I can't pick between them, they're a package deal.
From your OCs, I think that goes to Wendy. She's an awesome character, and she kicks ass. I love her, tis tis, or Xe, because, like, there's different genres of favorite characters, but Ernie's up there. I can't choose, I love them all. I kind of like Ruby as a, no spoilers.
What is the longest chapter you have planned for SMTB?
I'm pretty sure that would go to chapter 35. It's a 2-part chapter. I won't spoil it, but it's an EXE related chapter.
Which chapter is your favorite at the moment?
Out of 1 through 4, I'd have to say 3. It was a fun chapter to draw and write.
Oh shit, WAHHHH, stop making me decide. Sobs. But I have to say, art-wise, the newest chapter OFC, but I'm also a super huge fan of the dream sequence in chapter 3. Man, that's hard. Chapter 1 and 2 hold a special place in my heart. Ugh, I'm gonna say 2 maybe? IDKY.
Which character was the hardest to write and draw?
I honestly don't think I have an answer. They're all super fun to draw and write, though I will say that any of Beetle's designs are a bit harder to write dialogue for and draw in my style, because they weren't made by me.
To draw? Here, Naili, or Death. They suck. To write? I mean, you're doing most of the writing, but I'm not sure if I would consider any of them super hard to write, but maybe he or Leah.
Which character are you most excited to work on story-wise?
These 2. Next question.
Aturus, Lucifer, the Pirates, and Xe and Phaon and Witchhaven and the OEO and the deities, other than Simon. Love Simon too, but he's gonna get screen time sooner than the others. Everyone basically.
Are you working on any other stories besides SMTB? Are you going to do a sequel or a spin-off?
While all my stories do take place in the same universe, I am planning to make a separate comic called MG and Beetle's Mini Comics, where each chapter is its own one-shot comic about things that won't be fully covered in Souls Meant to Burn. Beetle might also draw some of these comics, so if the art style wildly changes, you know why.
How many chapters are planned?
Over 100 most likely, though currently there's 73 planned out at the moment.
What character changed the most from their original version?
Wendy changed quite a lot, certainly for the better. Matt got hit with the melanin beam pretty hard, so did Phaon. EXE changed quite a bit, as discussed earlier, and Kira has been redesigned like a million times, and I don't even think this is her final design.
The reward for oldest foulest design change probably goes to be from pasty white one-dimensional straight boring AOC, to a goobery witch lesbian. TY to MG that she's gotten this far. I was going to kill he off in my story at the time. In second place I might put Ruby.
Are fans allowed to dub over the comic?
Absolutely, go ahead. With proper credit and link to the original comic.
TBH, I'm a little mixed. I definitely appreciate the work and the love put into it, but I fear mischaracterization for my character's LMAO. It's definitely a super sweet form of fan content, though. I'd say I'd be pretty anxious about it, but also find it nice.
Does Logan like goldfish?
UHHHHH. He, Logan, thinks that goldfish shit too much and die, but he would appreciate one at the dentist's office. I love mischaracterizing your OCs.
Now that I'm thinking about it, they might have meant the cracker.
When will eggs appear in the comic?
Chapter 31. And guys, don't freak out, but he'll be a bit skinnier than usual in the first few chapters he appears in. Don't freak out.
Will you ever get SMTB printed?
Unfortunately, probably not. For that to work, I'd have to rearrange all the panels to work in a book format, and that's a lot of work. Producing a book also costs time and money that would be pretty exhausting.
Will you ever redraw older chapters?
Probably not. This comic will likely be 100 chapters or more. I do not have time to redraw comic pages.
Does Adam like hot soda?
WTF. Adam is already depressed enough, I don't think he needs another reason.
Well, I guess that's about the end of this video. If you're interested in giving this webcomic a read, check it out on Webtoon or Comic Fury, link in the description. Also, check out Beetle's art on the Toy House or Art Fight, also linked in the description. Have a good day, and goodbye.
You must bounce on it.